Welcome to our monthly webinar. My name is Joy Mason. I am a Customer Success Manager here at Litera Microsystems. Today's topic is on Change Pro Premier. We're going to talk about its capabilities at a high level. And presenting today is going to be Mike Plum. He is a manager on our Customer Enablement and Adoption team and has been working in the legal field for more than 14 years. He's seen it all when it comes to document issues and other problems facing the legal world. He's a former member and manager of our consulting team and a veteran with a broad spectrum of software implementations and best practices used here at Litera Microsystems. We always love your feedback and welcome it on our various webinar topics. Let us know how we did today and if you thought it was relevant. We'll provide a short survey at the end to get your thoughts. And throughout the webinar, if you have questions, please enter them in your question window, and we will answer as many as we can during the Q&A session. If you missed a previous session of our past webinars, they are on our YouTube channel. With that, I will pass you over to Mike to begin the webinar.
All right, great. Thank you very much, Joy. Appreciate the intro. So hello again, everyone, to our monthly webinar that we have. So today's a little different. Today's actually our first, in quotes, non-microsystems webinar. As most of you know, we've had a merger with Litera and the Sackett Group. So today we're going to discuss one of the legacy Litera products, which is now a Litera microsystem product on Change Pro. We actually just released 10.108 of Change Pro a couple weeks ago, and it's newly rebranded as a Litera Microsystems product, so we're pretty excited about that. So first of all, we're going to start out at a high level and talk about Change Pro, and then we'll dive a little bit more into the details around the different compare possibilities. So with Change Pro Premier, we can do word to word, Excel to Excel, we can compare PDFs, we can compare PowerPoints, and it's truly one of the most complete and accurate and readable change comparison solutions on the market. Change Pro mitigates the risk of situations where people assume there's no changes, but there really are. Other products on the market don't have the technology to detect some of these critical changes that have occurred, but Change Pro can compare your document in its entirety so you have a sense of confidence in your work product. So the comparison is done directly from the Change Pro ribbon, and it's highly configurable to your workflow, and our interface can really accommodate any of your needs. So we're going to compare all MS Office files and PDFs, and we're also going to kind of compare more content than any other comparison solution. So text, tables, comments, embedded images, footnotes, endnotes, embedded Excel workbooks, PowerPoint speaker notes, PDFs, things that others can't do. But the other thing that's really great that I think is it's smart to avoid showing changes that are unimportant, to avoid that clutter when you're trying to review your comparison. We can also compare more sources, so documents, email attachments, even selections saved to the Windows clipboard. We can start your comparison in a variety of ways. We integrate with all of the things that you want us to integrate with, Outlook, Office, Windows, your DMS. And you can share it with anyone. So even though you're creating a Change Pro red line, you can save it and email it in any MS Office file format to anyone. They don't need to have Change Pro to review it. And it's easy to learn and it's easy to use. So let's take a look at Change Pro in Word. So the red line, the original, and the modified, they're all accessible from these tabs up here. And there's different layouts you can set up, but this is one that I kind of like. We have our change list on the left here. We can click and navigate to different items in the document to review those pieces. The ribbon itself is very normal, what you're used to seeing. We can pick your original or modified. It's going to remember previous documents that you've accessed. You can also grab them from the file system or for your DMS. If you picked original or modified, you can switch back and forth. Here's how you start your comparison. The unique thing here, though, too, is you can actually do a comparison of one to many. You can compare up to 5 documents at the same time, which is really a nice feature. There's configuration here as well, so you can, set up your enterprise rendering sets, your personal ones. You can even, create some on the fly here as well for you, so you can create more personal ones, whatever look and feel makes sense for you or for the lawyer. During the session too, you can also, modify what you wanna use and how you want it to act for you. These are your navigation tools to kind of jump to the next instance or do some searching or things of that nature. Here's your layout, which we talked about, so you can show multiple different layouts depending on what makes the most sense for you and how you want to work. And then of course you can save it, either locally or back to the DMS. You can print it, and you can email packages to whoever requested the comparison. So if I click on the drop down here to email, I get some options where I can pick, do I want to send the original, the modified, the red line, and in what format I want to send them in. So all that's pretty straightforward in terms of, what the ribbon looks out and things like that. How we display these as well is pretty straightforward. You can see that, sorry, I got to get this thing out of my way here. You can see that it's pretty straightforward in how things are laid out there. We typically show inserts, red, deletes inserts are blue, deletes are red, things of that nature. But the one unique piece that's really interesting here is what we're doing with the comments. The comments are inline comparisons, which you don't see with any other tools. Let's take a look at how some of the other tools treat changes to comments within Word. So I want to flip back to my PowerPoint. So here's an example of how they look for some different items. So for Change Pro, as you can see, we show the changes in line where those comments are. When we look at Microsoft Word, you can see that it's actually showing additional comments for every addition, deletion, etc. And finally, for the competitor, it's showing you the changes within the paragraph itself. And this really kind of defeats the purpose of those comments. They're actually using highlight to indicate the changes. And that could be very challenging to understand. It can be actually quite confusing. The one thing to note here is that this is just one or maybe two comments, but you can imagine how busy and confusing this could be if there was multiple comments or multiple authors and multiple versions. I'm going to jump back into my Word file again. So the other interesting thing in the word comparison is something we call intelligent table comparison. I'm going to start with the original here, and when I scroll down, you can see there's an item here where it shows ranking and termination date next to each other. So it looks as if these are somehow related. If I go to the modified though, you can see that they've actually been separated out to be two different levels. And when I finally go back to the red line, we don't even show that there's any changes here. The reason being is we don't show changes if it's simply a format change and there's no word changes. Now, competitors in native Word show all of the format changes, which makes it very difficult to read and understand the resulting comparison. Let's take a look at what that looks like in an example here. So here's a similar example, and you can see in Change Pro, there's a couple wording changes at the top of the table, but we're not showing that ranking and termination date. But with Word and with the competitor, they're showing all the formatting moves and things of that nature. And whereas the final version, really only a few words were changed, for the Word and competitor version, you can see it's a much more busy red line, and it's a little more confusing to look at. The substance and meaning was the same. The words were not changed that much. So that's why we're trying to show you just a simple simple red line. If we scroll down a little farther in our Word document, the next thing I want to talk about are embedded Excel spreadsheets. So this is actually an embedded Excel spreadsheet. If I look at the original version here, you'll see that in December 30th, 2006, for the original, we added a column, but there was no values in there. In the modified, those values were added, and the red line shows it as such, that these values were added to the embedded red line. But more importantly, this document, after the red line, it remains a live Excel spreadsheet. So I could still double click on this and jump back to Excel right now. And no one else shows the changes simply in Word while maintaining that link back to Excel. So let me again show you an example in the PowerPoint of what this looks like with Word and the competitors. So on the left, we see Change Pro, where it shows you those few changes in that left column, but it remains that Excel spreadsheet. With Word, all Word can do is show the changes before and after the version of Excel. So you'd need to kind of go through and look for the changes, which is obviously not ideal. It does not have the capability to show the changes within that single sheet. And then finally, the competitor actually does show the changes to the second and third column, but it changes this embedded Excel spreadsheet to a simple Word table. So you've lost that connection back to Excel. And it's also not going to give you any indication to things like formulas that may occur in the Excel spreadsheet. So really, Change Pro handles this scenario the best as well. Let's take a look at a few other items that we notice here. So we also show changes in graphs. If I looked at the original version of this graph and I compared it to the modified version, there's subtle changes, but it's really not easy to detect what those changes are. But by looking at the red line, you can see that we show those changes right in the graphic itself. So it makes it very obvious to see what has changed in that graphic from the original to the revised. Scrolling down, we do the same thing for Visio sheets. So there's a simple change right here that easily could be lost if it wasn't shown right in the Visio chart itself. ChemDraws, same thing as well. We're going to show you that change embedded in the graphic itself. And even, JPEG images, we're going to go down pixel by pixel, and looking at this one from the original and then looking at the modified, they don't really look that different to the naked eye. But by going the red line, you can see someone tried doctoring up some damage to this plane, hiding that this was a landing strip. So things of that nature. Going pixel by pixel, you can really get down to the finer points of the graphic. You don't have to set the pictures side by side to see these differences. Another great tool is embedded scan documents in Word. If I look at the original version of this, it says annual rate of percent of 8%. Now someone went and modified it to 18%, and that's the only change made in the document. So really there's an extra 1 in this document. Obviously 10% difference in an annual rate is huge. So again, if I was looking at this side by side, this would be very hard to notice. But with our capabilities to add red line into the embedded scan, we put that right in that embedded scan there, and you can see that that has changed from 8 to 18%. Same thing, we can handle complex auto shapes and even complex footnotes. So all of those can easily be handled by Change Pro Premier in Word. And then at the end of every report, you get a summary report of the types of changes we found. So what was added, what was deleted, the fact that there was embedded graphics in there or embedded Excel. All those things are quickly shown in a little summary report for you. So let's jump back now and talk about PDF, Change Pro for PDF. So with Change Pro for PDF, it's a 3-tiered approach depending upon the document you're using and what you want to do. So you can do a simple compare, and all that's going to do is highlight the text related to changes, only highlight text related changes from a PDF to Word comparison. You can also do a standard compare, and that's going to add formatting to the compare as well. So that'll look for both text and formatting when you're comparing PDF to Word. And then finally, we have native PDF comparison. So that's when you have 2 PDF files that you need to compare. It's not going to convert it to Word. It's going to do a native PDF to PDF comparison, which is key. So you're not going to go through any more translation or conversion. It's going to compare those PDF files. You know, I'm sure it happens at all your firms. We hear it all the time as well, that you start with a Word file, it's being passed back and forth from a collaboration point of view. You get back a PDF, so you need that PDF to Word comparison to handle those for you. So not only do we do PDF to PDF, but we also do Excel comparison. So this is native Excel to Excel comparison as well. Like Word, we'll show you those inline changes, but we're also going to track the things that are important to Excel, like, for example, formula changes. So what we're getting at here is that it's the completeness factor. We don't skip over or delete substance from your document that you need in order to make those competent decisions. So let's jump into Change Pro for Excel for a minute here and take a look at this. So this is Change Pro for Excel. I've already run the comparison just to save a little time here. So the ribbon, very similar. You can grab your documents. You're going to run your comparison. There is an advanced compare in the Excel, so you can actually select an area or select sheets you want to compare. When we look at kind of the layout of the land here, there's different layouts. In this view, I'm showing the red line up top. I have the original in the kind of the middle here, the modified to the right, and then here's my change list to the left. For the change list too, and this is navigable, and the color is very important because the color is going to help determine what kind of change it is. So let's look at some of these and kind of go through what the differences are. So I'm going to click on row 460, and it's a white change. So you can see in the original, the number was 25. It was modified to 5. So you can see in the red line, it was deleted as 25 and changed to 5. And white means that it was actually a typed number. So someone went into that cell and deleted 25 and typed in the number 5. Now, if we go down to, let's say, blue 465, you'll see, if you notice, and I know a lot of you guys are eagle eyes out there, you might have noticed that this original screen didn't change. It's still on the previous example because the line didn't exist in the original. So that one didn't change. And this line was added in the modified, and then you can see the resulting new line in the red line. If we go down to the tan level, 466, here it's just the opposite. The line was in the original, but it was deleted in the modified, so we don't see it, and then we can see the deletion in the red line as well. Now we're going to get a little deeper into what Excel compare can do. So I'm going to go to line 472, which is these yellow lines. So in 472, we see the original number was 36. The modified number is 34, and it looks like, okay, this was just deleted and typed in 36, 34, just like the white line we looked at before. But this actually wasn't deleted and typed over. This value changed because the formula changed behind the scenes. So what this is saying is this wasn't changed by hand, it was changed by the formula behind the scenes. So we're looking at that formula level as well as the text that's on the spreadsheet. And that'll become really important when we finally go to the last type, the green one. So if I go to 481 here, you'll notice that the original number is 1, the modified number is 1, and the red line says 1. So the value didn't change. But what did change was the formula underneath. The formula changed, the result was still the same number, but we're letting you know that the formula is different from what it was in the original. So not only are we looking at the text here, we're also looking at the formula underneath the hood to let you know what's going on. There are a few reports that you can get at here. There is the change list, and that's just if you want to see all of the changes in a single sheet. And there's also this audit report that I'm running right here. This is if you want to see the metadata about it. So things like author, date of creation, things like that. Okay. So moving on right along here, we're going to jump back into the PowerPoint. And let's look at PowerPoint compare, right? We're in the PowerPoint, we should look at PowerPoint compare. So PowerPoint really does everything that native Word does. We're going to show those inline change markups, all the different comparisons for the different graphic types, all those different things. But the unique thing here for PowerPoint is we're actually going to compare the speaker notes too in a slide. That's something that no other tool can do. So not much more to talk about from a PowerPoint point of view because it really is the same as native Word. It's going to compare and show the differences for all those different pieces. But the one really unique piece there is that we will do speaker notes in the PowerPoint. And that's all we wanted to really talk about today from a Change Pro point of view, showing it at a really high level. In future ones, we'll definitely get into more detail with some of these. I'm sure there's going to be more detail that you're going to want to know. Just to let you know, next month, we're going to have a presentation on Forte, which is one of the Sackett Group products that came back from us that we purchased. We're probably going to have a multi-part series on that. So not sure what the title is, but something along Forte. I know some of you might not have that product, so it might not be as of value to you, but we're trying to give love to all the products we have now because we're more than just microsystems. We are Litera Microsystems. If you have any questions or want to reach out to us, you can send a message to training@Litera. All of our webinars, as Joy said in the beginning, are on YouTube. So all those recordings are out there. Feel free to grab them. If you need an MP4 version of those to put in an LMS system, just let us know. I can provide that to you as well. A couple questions came in, so I'm going to take a quick look at those, and then I'll be right back to wrap it up. All right, so we do have a couple questions. So the first one is, it was around the Excel spreadsheet. So someone asked, can you handle Excel changes that have been linked for another spreadsheet? So that's something we've definitely been asked before, and that is one thing we cannot do. So I know a lot of people link spreadsheets from other ones, and they would like to see if the other spreadsheet updated, we could compare and update that. We can only compare with what's on the screen right at that point. So we cannot do that right now. So we cannot compare linked spreadsheets. And then the next question we have is Change Pro compatible with iManage Work 10 website? That is actually a really good question that I do not know the answer to. So I'm going to go back and find that one out. And what I'll do is I'll send that answer to the person that asked it, and we'll also post that somewhere on our website in case other people want to know. Okay, so with that, I think we're going to wrap it up. I'll give you a few minutes back, and hopefully we'll see you next month when we talk about Forte. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.